Here in the Virginia is for Racing Lovers Grand Prix, and in our race tomorrow, the main race tomorrow for the WeatherTech Championship, is going to be the balance between fuel burn and tyre wear. Bit of BMW on BMW action there. White and blue together in terms of the bonnet badges, and it goes the way, for the moment at least, of Sean McAllister for Carbon with Peregrine. That's a battle at the bottom end of the top 10 for 7th and 8th position, and the dark grey car with the green highlights takes that position ahead of Dylan McAvoy. And Kaya Chavez for Pan Am Motorsport in the bright orange Supra getting involved in that. Good to see the Supra being so competitive again in this championship. It has had wins in this championship in the past, the Supra.
Certainly has, and this team has been really quick over the course of this season as well, so keep an eye on them. Not running a full season, and they've had a bunch of different drivers in the car over the course of the year, but they've been really fast. And keep in mind, Ford Koch did qualify his car third before it was sent to the back with a technical infraction, so the Supras do appear to be quite strong in Michelin Pilot Challenge trim, and they've been really fast in VP Racing Sports Car Challenge racing here this weekend too.
We started with 2 hours on the clock. A sort of mini enduro this, and good afternoon to those of you at the circuits. Thank you for supporting IMSA and VIR. As I say, a bit of a mini enduro. There'll be people who say 2 hours is not an enduro, but the regulations and how they work mean it is not an easy split for the teams here. Minimum driver times 40 minutes, so obviously that isn't obvious. The TCRs can probably get to half distance, although Ryan, here in terms of the fuel burn, here is one of the more difficult places even for the TCRs, because those 2-litre turbocharged engines are flat out for quite a lot of the time here. Pretty much every other track we go to, we sort of think that an hour is doable. Here, if we stay green, there might be a little bit of soft pedalling and a bit of smoke coming out the back of the number 99. Started at the sharp end of the field, and Victor Gonzalez racing in the dark grey Cupra leads. Not the first time a Cupra Leon has led. Team Gore have done that as well on the pit stop strategies and on their pace. But this is a tremendous run for VGRT in a car that was new to them just a race ago. Well, and remember, they didn't even get a full racing lap in at Road America. That car was hit off track, and with Eric Powell driving at the end of lap 1 in Road America, so they've had very limited time with the car. They were chasing a mechanical issue on that car the whole weekend as well. So for them to be right on the pace is really an encouraging sign, and Eric Powell was really confident in the race car, even more so than the qualifying car, and he still qualified on the front row. Yeah, seems that Team Gore were the trailblazers, if you will, in that respect for Cupra, excuse me. Cupra's plans to come to the United States slightly put on hold, as with Alpine, in terms of launching the street cars here in the US. All side-by-side contact and a sideways moment there, as Luke Rumberg trying to come through the field. And this is the perennial problem as you're coming through the GS field. Christine Sloss being passed by some TCRs, and there was side-by-side contact coming down to the final corner there, Ryan.
And Luke had been really opportunistic in the traffic, got around Preston Brown earlier in the lap, but yeah, this one was a case of just getting caught out by the traffic, getting alongside the Aston. Aston didn't see him there, and there was a little hip and shoulder. Really good save there by Luke to keep the car pointed in the right direction, and then fortunately for Luke, he was able to hold off Preston, who was looking to get that spot right back.
just a little touch left-hand side of Luke Rumberg's TCR car to the right rear of Christine's Aston Martin Racing machine. They're through now. Eric Powell then by 2 seconds. He's managed the traffic really well and dispatched the pole sitter in TCR with Thelfo Neto for Precision Racing in the Audi in 3rd position. At the front of the field, Nate Cicero with a scant half a second lead over Luca Mars and Morgan Burkhardt. So Ford, Porsche, Porsche, Ford with Nick Persing in 4th position, top 4 there, separated by just on 1 3/4 seconds. So early days so far. Another Toyota Supra doing well at the moment. Down the front stretch, blue and white, number 23, down the inside of Wim Barletta. That's Fred Koch. Gets that one done fairly easily, and that was done coming down the hill and out of turn 17 at Hogpen, Ryan. Just got a much better exit from there, and already 6 places gained by that number 23 blue and white Supra GT4 of Copeland Motorsport and Ford Koch.
Yeah, I thought we might see this again. Car was really fast in qualifying, but had to start at the back, and I was just curious how quickly Ford would be comfortable in his first weekend racing this GT4 car. He's got plenty of experience in similar cars, driving in the Toyota GR Cup Championship the last couple of years. He's having a really good season and actually had a top 10 in a really strong field here at VIR earlier this season. But it looks like he's coming to grips with the GT4 car really quickly. This Copeland team knows their business. We've seen them in TCR before, but now showing what they can do with a GT4 machine here in Pilot Challenge.
Just to let you know that, as ever, the start was reviewed. Standard operational procedure there. It's been reviewed. There's no action. And now Ford Koch goes to work on Bryce Ward on the AMG number 57 from Winwood Racing. And that's now a 16th position as that Copeland Motorsport Gazoo Racing Toyota Supra GT carves its way through the field. That's pretty impressive. There's no doubt about the pace of these cars. As I said, we've seen them winning in the past. And there's a whole gaggle of cars now. Oh, and side-by-side contact again at turn 1. And that included Frank Depew. And I think in there as well was Nikita Lastoshin. And I think Nikita got the worst of that. Frank was just turning in. Frank goes down the inside and he's through. Hit the curb on the inside. And that's a twofer, by the way, for Ford Koch, who makes up a couple of positions in one fell swoop there, Ryan. Very heads-up driving. Frank on the dirt, understeered out, hit the Porsche, and Ford goes through on the inside with, I'm sure, a smile underneath the racing helmet.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't come much easier than that for Ford Koch, and he'll take it as he charges back up through the field. But you got a feel for Nikita Lastishkin, who might have bigger issues. I know he certainly has a lot of grass in the radiator inlets and might be managing that, but also might have some damage, it looks like, too. Possibly a tire down on the right front, and now he's going through the grass at unabated speed.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to keep out the way and find somewhere to pull off as he's going up the one line, up the hill through the Snake and into the rising S's. Just looking to see if there's any suspension damage there. Also contact at the left hook between Christine Sloss and a couple of TCR cars there. And this is the problem. The back of the GS field isn't as quick through the twisty bits as the TCR cars. Toskin trying to come through and get to the end of the lap, where I think the team will want to have a look at that car. Meanwhile, Frank Depew has been given a drive-through penalty for incident responsibility. BDO pit lane reports. Here's Arjuna.
We've been watching the Copeland Motorsports Toyota carve its way through the field, and so I've caught up with Jackson Bell, who's making not just his first appearance in the Michelin Pilot Challenge, but your first competitive race in the GT4 car. What was practice like?
Practice was great. Car's in a really good window. Ended up 8th and 5th in practice, and just out here really learning Michelin Pilot as a series, and also learning this Toyota Supra. But so far so good, and Ford's out there doing a really good job.
I think that's a bit of an understatement. Both of you transitioning from the GR Cup machine. How much of a difference is it between the GT4 and the Cup car?
It's a huge difference, but we're having a lot of fun with the transition. Toyota is just a great platform to drive in general, and we're both out here having a great time, and also looking to do really well today.
Thanks, Jackson. John, the number 2 CSM machine has just come into its pit box in front of me. I'll take a look at it and get back to you with a damage report.
Yes, I have a strong suspicion that it's not going to be good news. I think there might be some suspension damage on that car. And Frank Depew has already been through... no, he hasn't been through the pit lane as yet, excuse me. It looks like Nikita has got out of the car. And let's take a BDO pit lane report from the number 2 pit. Don't think it's good news though.
Unfortunately not, John. There is fluid dripping from the front of the Porsche. There's lots of damage to it as well. And Nikita Lastochkin has jumped out of the car, and I wonder if that is going to be day done. They try and clear some of the debris that was stuck in the radiator, but I think there's going to be some work to do before they can release this car back out onto track.
Thanks, Arjuna. It does help that he's that tall, because he can stand quite a way back and still see what's going on. In the meantime, Frank Depew has come in to serve his penalty. This is going to drop him right down towards the back of the field. Also just noticed that Rafa Martinez has lost a few places as well, although that might just be the TCR cars coming through the field. Yes, it is. Frank Depew will come out in 26th position. 20th in GS. It's going to be tight between him and Rafa as the lap unfolds. Meantime, at the front of the field, Nate Cicero in the blue and black Mustang is leading, but off has gone the number 52 Baker Racing Audi for Sam Baker. That, I think, is at NASCAR turn 3. NASCAR bend. He's facing in the wrong directions. On the A to Z automobiles supported, and Lick Molly supported Audi, driver's side up against the wall. Very odd, speared off there. I think he may have had some help, but can't say from who. He was fighting with Rafa Martinez and with Preston Brown and Dean Baker. Oh yeah, it was Preston Brown who gave him a helping nudge. There was contact with the tyre wall. So let's see. Well, looks like, in fairness, it looks like Sam Baker had made a mistake and gone wide. Preston Brown goes up the inside as Sam is trying to get back to the apex, and it's left rear suspension damage on that Audi. He might be able to limp it back, but we've got full course yellow. Now, we had a slew of cars in the mid-teens who got in there, Ryan, and that could be an absolutely stunning move because the pits have just closed. 16 minutes in, we're in a full course caution.
Yeah, exactly. I think sensing a full course caution was likely imminent. I've got 4 cars that have come in. The 95 Turner car, Bryce Ward in the 57 from Windward Racing, Moise Uretsky for Ibiza Farms, and I'm not sure who the other one was. I've got to track that down. Okay, so Turner got both of its cars in. Really quick thinking there then, recognizing this was likely going to bring out a full course yellow and taking advantage before the pits were closed.
Yeah, they've all been in there for just under a minute or round about a minute, so that would have been just a splash of VP Racing fuel, and the car's sent. The idea is that they will now cycle to the front when everybody else comes in for their pit lane. Well, it looks like Sam Baker is going to try and drive that Audi, but is he going back on the track or is he going into the pits? He's going back on the track despite the damage to the left rear suspension. My great friend Martin Haven, who did World Touring Cars for TV for many, many years. He is in fact, was the English language voice of World Touring Cars. Always used to say the rear wheels on a front-wheel drive touring car are just there to keep the exhaust off the ground. Well, I think they do a bit more than that, but Sam Baker is kind of making Martin's point for him right now, because that is a car that if it was a rear drive car would not drive. And Sam, I think, just waiting for the full course yellow to come out. Has he actually dropped a lap? Have they all gone past him? I don't think they have. No. And they're now behind the safety car, but he's going to have to take it really easily to get back to the pit lane. And that is not going to be the work of a moment. So the field is behind the safety car coming through turn 3, and Sam is heading up through the snake through to the S's and South Bend. Whew. Well, bit of action in the midfield there. Let's give you a quick rundown of what's going on. Nate Cicero leads in the Ford Mustang for Macumbi Makalia Racing. Then 2 Porsches, RS1 and CSM. Luca Mars in the 28, the red, white and black car. Mergen Burkhardt is right behind him in the 67. Then Nick Persing for Core Motorsports Mustang. Sean McAllister for the BMW of Carbon with Berrigan, the dark grey and green car. And I think Sam has given up the fight and gone behind the wall. I think that's very sensible. He's put it in a place of safety. Top 10 made up of Paul Holton for Team TGM's Aston, Pan Am Motorsport, Caio Chavez in the Toyota number 54, that's the lead car. Bob McCallion in 8th for Core, 9th Sean Quinlan for Stephen Cameron in the Mustang. And how about Ford Koch up to 10th position for Stephen Cameron in the for Coupler Motorsport, excuse me, in the Toyota. In TCR, Eric Powell for VGRT, Victor Gonzalo Racing. In the Cupra, leads it from Bryson Morris. The car's between them, but they'll move out the way when we do the class split. Then Celso Neto for Audi and Precision. LP Montour for MMG. Mason Filippi for Brian Herter Autosport and Hyundai Elantra. And top 6 completed by Luke Rumberg for KVA Graphics and the Audi. That's how they stand in this yellow flag. Hearing as well from Tyler Kinghorn, who's trackside, just in front of the bridge on the uphill, that it sounds like there's something rubbing as it went by in that 52. That was the left rear wheel, Tyler. It was at a somewhat jaunty angle because I think the bottom suspension mount is broken, or the tie rod at the bottom of the suspension. Pits have opened for GS. So, knowing then, Ryan Marine, put your team manager's hat on, knowing that 4 cars have stopped, we're halfway to driver time. Do you come in or not?
Well, I'm watching what everyone's doing, and it looks like most are going to say yes. Let's go ahead and do it. I think the first to roll the dice and stay out is the Copeland team. Did Cicero stay out as well? Okay, well, just about everybody else is coming in, which means Arjuna is about to be a busy guy.
BDO pit lane report. Go Arjuna.
And one thing, John, that is surprising me, a driver change going on for the 67 CSM crew. So Gordon Scully and Morgan Burkhardt going to swap around. It's an interesting call given that we haven't reached the drive time, but I'm wondering, John, if this is just calculated. Maybe they think the other driver can better push at the end of the race, and they're using this as an opportunity to split the race up in a different way. Timing of the caution has really mixed things up as a fill up of fuel for a whole bunch of GS cars, off and away they roll.
Video pit lane reporter Arjuna Kankapati will get words and have a chat with some of those drivers who have made the driver changes, because that is not standard. They've really gone funky on the tactics. But the Ford Mustang Dark Horse as our safety car, black, mean and menacing at the front of the field. So the cars that stayed out, Ryan, by my reckoning, and this is rather messed up some of the other cars behind them, although they will get that time back. Nate Cicero from Michelin Racing in the Ford Mustang number 13, he was leading the race and has stayed out. In second, Ford Koch, who, all right, he's made up a lot of positions. He'd driven past a lot of people before this, now up to second for Copeland Motorsport in the Toyota. Harrison Goodman in third for CSM and the number 16 Porsche, and Autotechnic Racing for Austin Cranes. Those were the four that stayed out. AR Motorsports' David Hampton stayed out as well. So leader of the cars that stopped is Frank Depew, believe it or not, for... no, hang on. That was a drive-through, so he hasn't come through again. So I think Bryce Ward is leading the cars that have made a splash. Let's go down to Arjuna for a video pit lane report and one of the teams that has made a driver change.
Morgan Burkhardt standing by me, and we were talking on the grid, and you said there was some strategery that you were going to work, but I don't think this is what I expected, a driver change 20-25 minutes in.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's what anybody really expected. We wanted to go out and get some good track position right off the grid, so we ended up doing that. Ran really well in the first stint, and like we talked about on the grid walk, only having 10 laps of practice before qualifying. I think we got the setup right. We guessed correctly, so I'm really happy about that. But you know, we're going to put Gordon in now. He's going to get his 40 minutes in the middle of the stint. So this is an opportune yellow for us. We can probably get him out. He's going to be on new tires towards the back of the pack. We'll be able to work back through, and we'll put me back in at the end. So we kind of get the best of both worlds: a little bit of track position, a little bit of luck at the end.
And do you get fresh tires at the end?
That is the plan. Well, we didn't run any laps in practice, so we got plenty left.
Helps that you got a set in reserve. Thanks, Morgan.
Brilliant stuff and great honesty from Morgan Burkhardt and CSM and the team there. So that's their play. Meantime, the TCRs have come in. No driver changes that I can see there. Everybody staying and leaving tyres on. So it's just VP Racing Fuel going in to the 2-litre turbocharged front-wheel drive cars. And we'll see how they come out. But I don't think that was a Cupra that got out of the cars that stopped. No, it was not. It was Precision Racing. And no, it wasn't. It was Will Talley that got out first in the number 5 Honda Civic, then Thelfo Neto. And we'll see how that shakes out. I'm looking at other people who maybe haven't stopped. I think everybody in TCR's come in.
I see three that did not.
Alex Rockwell. Yeah.
Yep. But I don't think Eric Powell did from the lead, and I don't believe Dean Baker did in the sister car to the Sam Baker car that brought out this yellow.
Correct.
What I'm seeing, those three elected to stay out, but everybody else did come in, which I think speaks to what you were talking about earlier. The level of fuel consumption that you see at this track is quite high because of the long full throttle sections. There's really 3 of them. That makes it a bit more difficult to get to the hour mark in a TCR car than you would find elsewhere, or else I don't think we would have seen so many of the TCR cars make the stop.
Yeah. And those that have stopped cannot go to the end in either of the classes from this point. And that I think we can say with a degree of certainty. There would have to be basically half an hour of the Ford Mustang Dark Horse at the head of the field between now and the end of the race. Not beyond the bounds of possibility, of course, but that's tough to plan it that way. So we'll now put all of the GS cars ahead of all the TCR cars. So whilst it looks, if you're following along on IMSA timing by Al Kamel, Eric Powell is scored in 5th place overall, Dean Baker in 7th, and Alex Rockwell in 12th, with a whole host of GS cars between them and LP Montour and Thelfo Neto and Will Talley. and we'll see which way they've come out when we come past the line this time. That will change, because all of the GS cars will get waved past and reform at the front of the field. So as they come round to complete lap number 12, which is what they will do this time around, we'll actually see what happens. And the two TCRs are dropping back down the field now to allow the GS cars to go through. So I reckon then, so it is Powell from Baker from Alex Rockwell, and then we're waiting for the rest of the TCRs. It's LP Montour, I was right the first time, for Montreal Motorsport Group, is the leader of the TCRs that have stopped, ahead of Will Talley and Thelton Neto and Bryson Morris, pole sitter. And the 8th place is Luke Rumberg for TCR, then Mason Filippi for Brian Herter Hyundai, and Lance Bergstein for Brian Herter Autosport Hyundai Elantra as well. At the front of the field, the 4 that stayed out, make that the 5 that stayed out, are the top 5. As the pace car lights are out very early on in the lap. Nate Cicero for McCumbee McAleer Racing, who was leading when the yellow came out. Ford Koch has blasted his way through the field, 20 plus positions made up, 10 of which he made up on pace. Then Harrison Goodman for Porsche and CSM in 3rd. Austin Kreitz for Auto Technica Racing and their BMW number 27 in 4th. And David Hampton is the last of the drivers for AR Motorsport in his Porsche number 14 in 5th position, who did not stop. Frank Depew for Rebel Rock Racing has had a drive-through, so he hasn't stopped either, but he is in 6th position. Bryce Ward then is the first of the GS cars who legitimately have been through pit lane for a top-up on fuel. Now, you might ask yourself, and it's a reasonable question, as they're on the back straight now ready to restart, why, if you know you're going to get your driver out at 40 minutes or thereabouts, would you bother bringing them in and filling them up with fuel? Because when you do your driver change, you will be able to do that driver change well in advance of a full tank of fuel. The determining factor for standing still in the pit lane is your fuel drop. So ultimately, those cars that have stopped will stand still for less time. I've just noticed Ted Giovannis hasn't stopped either, but he's down in 11th position at the moment. An hour and 30 minutes exactly to go as we go back to green, and it's Nate Cicero who leads them back to the green flag and gets a good jump on the field. Bryce Ward down the inside, defending against the Ibiza Farms Moise Uretsky-driven McLaren Artura, who goes Buffalo Gals round the outside of turn 1, which becomes the inside into turn 2, and takes the position. Nice clean start for the GSs. Eric Powell brought them to the line for Victor Gonzalez Racing in the Cupra Leon. They weren't prepared to give up their track position. Dean Baker for Baker Racing in 2nd in the Audi, and the Honda Civic of LP Montour for MMG has already moved up a position. He's the first car that has made a pit stop in TCR. Battle at the front of the field. Ford Koch is not finished from virtually the back of the GS grid to 2nd, and he's now pressuring Nate Cicero for the lead, Ryan.
Yeah, fantastic. Again, he qualified the car 3rd, so he knew he had good pace, just didn't have the track position after the penalty, so now he finds himself roughly where that car should have started on pace, and he's able to showcase what he can do. We've got some penalties to chronicle, but the racing's too good on track now, John, so we'll get to those in a moment.
Down the back straight, and Bryce Ward now under pressure from Dylan McAvern, and Vin Barlett is there as well as they come through. Down to the inside for the Aston Martin as well coming through. That's a nice manoeuvre there for Frank Depew. Oh, and off for RS1. Oh my goodness me. That is the championship leader who's on the grass and loses a huge amount of track position. Gets back on, but is in behind one of the Fords, so he's dropped a huge amount of real estate there. He's in behind, I think that's the number 60 of Nick's Persing. Yes, it is. So the championship leading car, once again, not having the best of luck early on in the race, Ryan.
Whoa, and a big off there as well for the Stephen Cameron Racing race day at Alzheimer's Mustang. That was a big save, and he's got a lot of grass up in the radiator inlet, and I was wondering about that as well for Luca Mars for RS1, who appears to have gotten off a little bit easier relative to the Mustang as far as that's concerned, but that's something to keep an eye on. If perhaps the amount of grass that he's accumulated could lead to another pit stop that could drop them even further down the order.
Yeah, and should just have another look at this and see if we can work out what happened. It was coming from a long way back. I think there might have been a little touch with Bryce Ward there as the RS1 Porsche tried to go around the outside. That will get a look at, I'm sure, very quickly. And I'm only going to give you the numbers here, which I very seldom do. But there's so many of them after the pit stops, and we see this typically. So person over the wall before the car stopped, 37 gets a drive through, 72 pit lane violation drive through, 37 pit lane speed violation. So that car will have to come through twice down the pit lane. So that is really, that's going to drop them off any kind of the lead lap that they're on the moment, and that is the Precision Racing TCR car. I'm not finished either, by the way. Penalty for the number 15 car, which is the Van der Steur Racing Aston Martin. That was pit lane, and none of these are anywhere. That was 32 over the pit, so that's a stop and hold for 60 seconds. The TGM number 46 is a drive-through, and I think we mentioned, did we, the 76 incident responsibility with the 52? If not, that is the other penalty in a slew of activity from race control. So Denis Dupoint is going to have to come down the pit lane after their incident with the Baker Racing car. They put the Baker Racing car behind the wall. I think we're up to date now for a moment or two, and those cars will start coming down the pit lane as quickly as possible. Let me just, by the way, correct myself. Our safety car here is the glorious Mustang GTD. Now, that's not a GTD race car, that's a GTD road car in the pure carbon look. The race cars this weekend in IMSA WeatherTech have the liquid carbon look with ultra lime on them to honour, if you will, that bare carbon look of the GTD that we have this weekend. That, believe it or not, is a street car. I know it looks like the most extreme race car you've ever seen, but it is fully street legal in the US and most major markets, including in Europe. And no, Ryan and I and Arjuna haven't been allowed to put our name on the list for them. So Nate Cicero leads the motor race at the moment with a Ford Mustang GT4, which in some ways doesn't perhaps look quite as extreme as the wide-body, big-winged car that is our safety car. In comes Bryce Ward into the pit lane. I presume that is a penalty.
Yeah, that just got handed down, John. That was incident responsibility with the 28 RS1 Porsche. We wondered if there might have been the slightest of touches, and race control has deemed that there was. So Bryce will take that penalty, and that undoes all the clever thinking that they had making that pit stop just before the yellow, unfortunately.
Yes, but they will stay in on the lead lap for the GS cars. And now, with about 5 minutes to go, just a quick reminder here, if you're trackside or watching and listening, those cars that have made their first pit stop under yellow, that time they spent in the pits, that minute or so, that does not count towards your drive time. So if they come in now, they're going to have to be 41 or 42 minutes elapsed time, not spot on the 40. So just something to keep an eye on. I think probably most people only took 45 to a minute and 4 or 5 is what I'm seeing on the screen. So by the time we get to 41, 42 minutes elapsed time, they will be cleared to come in and do their driver change for minimum drive time complete. Whether they will or not, we'll see. I think anybody who's dropped to the back, like now Bryce Ward, I think Bryce is going to have to stay in that car now and hope for another yellow before he gets out of that car, Ryan.
Yeah, I think so, and crucially try and stay on the lead lap until that yellow comes, and then that could bring them right back into the fight. He's got a new co-driver this weekend. I don't know that we've talked about that yet, but the Dutchman Dan Arrow, who drives for the Windward team in Europe, GT World Challenge Europe, in their GT3 program. He's also been very active on the Nürburgring in recent years, but he gets drafted in. That's the seat that Daniel Morad had for the first half of the season. We saw Philip Ellis in that role in the last race at Road America, but pretty cool to see Dan get the chance to come stateside.
Huge dive down the inside of turn 1, and it's a 3-way plant. And that, I am sure, is going to be Bill Kane's penalty for Car Barn. That was diving down the inside, and I think Eric Powell in the Cupra was involved in that, and that's the TCR leader off the side of the circuit. Yes, it is. Oh, that's a disaster for Victor Gonzalez Racing, and that is the one car of the 3 that hasn't moved. Tyler Gonzalez hasn't been in the car yet. Eric Powell minding his own business, coming into the horseshoe at turn 1, and a low percentage lunge by Bill Kane. And meantime, further round the circuit, the Mustang number 30 has gone off for LAP. That's Scott Thompson. Not used to seeing Scott in a red, white and black car. Used to see him in a blue car in Mustang Challenge. And he's got a part of his door panel missing. So the Cupra was in there. BMW goes down the inside, bumps into Scott. Scott bumps in to Eric Powell. Oh dear. Oh dear. Bill was on the dirt. He'd completely missed his braking point there. I don't like to prejudge things, Ryan, but I think that's probably one of the easier decisions that race control will have to make this weekend.
Seconded, definitely. And you feel for Scott, who was an innocent party, and you really feel for Eric Powell, who was leading his class, had absolutely nothing to do with any of that. It just got cleaned out for the second straight race. Remember, lap 1 at Road America, he was hit and taken out. It was Mason Filippi who was penalized for that contact, which means that poor Tyler Gonzalez has yet to race this Cupra, right? The 2 race weekends that they've entered the Cupra, and they've been out before Tyler's ever been able to race the car. Not of their making either.
That's a very, very good point. Not a point that we want to make. Short yellow here, which means that although the safety car will go out, the Ford Mustang GTD, and you get a chance to have another look at this storming street car. The ultimate Mustang street car from Ford. It looks like nothing on earth, does it? Look at how wide it is. Aaron, who's our producer for this, whispers in my ear, it's Bruce Wayne's day car when he's not using the Batmobile. Very good. I don't think Eric Powell is very enamoured of what went on around him there. And very sensibly, IMSA safety team taking him back to the EMR rapid response vehicle. And the irony of that is he is the only driver whose car didn't continue, although I think Scott Thompson has stopped as well. Is that car still running, the number 30? No, it is still running. It's just gone past the scene of the incident and is heading up the hill, but Scott's car looked fairly badly damaged. There'll be no pass around. We will, if necessary, split the classes again. So this is good news for Rafa Martinez and Paul Holton. And it's great news for Ted Giovannis. It's only a shame that they haven't opened the pits here, because that would have been perfect for those who needed their 40 minutes.
Sure.
But the pits will not open at this point. Scott, I think, is going to have to come in because his radiator ducts are full. He's lost a bit of the driver's side door. There's some damage on the right front of the normally pristine LAP machine. So he might just drop in when we go back to green. It's quite a long lap here. Would you, again, I'm asking you for your team manager's hat, would you, if you were down the field, if you are Team TGM with Ted Giovannis and possibly even Paul Holton as well, do you drop them in as we go back green and do the driver changes and just splash as much fuel, a timed fuel stop, and splash that and then send them? It's kind of worth it, isn't it?
I think so. I think that's really spot on, because it gets you splash the fuel in just however much you can while you're doing the driver change, and that gets you well past the halfway mark of the race. Your drive time is done, and you could easily do it on one more stop from there and have a pretty big window to work with too. So yeah, I would not be surprised to see some of those folks in that position that are carrying bronze drivers as part of their lineup to maybe take advantage of exactly that thought process.
Hearing from our contact, and thank you to Aaron for passing this along. It looks like Scott Thompson's number 20 is all right, other than the grass in the radiator, and he's watching the temperatures at the moment. Will continue. And 20, the other car involved, the RS1 Porsche, got the grass off their grill as well. Let's take a very quick update as a BDO pit lane report from Arjuna.
Well, John, I was trying to grab some interviews, but there was a flurry of activity as that safety car came out, and all the drivers who were getting ready to get into the car threw their helmets on just in case. And there are a bunch of drivers and their crews still on the wall, so I would not be surprised if TGM, I think, is one team that might come in when we get back underway, but also the Winwood Racing crew after that penalty. They may take this opportunity to put Dan Arrow in for his first stint in the IMSA-Michelin Pilot Challenge.
I don't think they've got anything to lose, Arjuna. Yeah, absolutely right. It's a relatively long lap, everybody getting back up to speed, and they do say cautions breed cautions. You might just get lucky and find that we go back to the neutralised state behind the Ford Mustang GTT within a couple of laps, or maybe just a few more, and then you're right in the box seat. I don't think you want to be stationary for too long. You want to stay on the lead lap, so you do the driver change and you just put enough fuel in until the driver is belted in and ready to go, because even then you're going to be better off on fuel than everyone around you. Remember, the top four in GS have not stopped yet, and therefore they are on the VP fuel load that they started with. They are burning that down from 45 minutes ago. Drive time has been completed for everybody, even those who have stopped now. And yes, we've had some yellow. We've had nearly 20 minutes of yellow and counting at the moment with these incidents. Oh, now it becomes obvious to me why the Cupra of Victor Gonzalez Racing couldn't continue. The right front wheel and tyre are not connected to the drive shaft or the suspension. That was the bit we couldn't see. No wonder Eric couldn't get the car going again. Get some polish on the rest of the car, but I think the suspension, I'm not a suspension engineer, I have to say, but that didn't look right to me in so many different ways. Yeah, I do think, Ryan, it's worth a punt if you're at the back of this the field. Scott Thompson, maybe Bill Kane, Bryce Ward, Ted Giovannis, Paul Holton, the two TGM cars, Rafa Martinez. you know, that's the back 6 at the moment. They've all, well, actually, Ted Giovannis hasn't made a stop yet, so they're the worst off on fuel. But I'm coming straight in behind the safety car. They're far enough down that the safety car, the Ford Mustang GTD, Ryan, will be down the pit lane. It won't get in the way. So I say you do that. Frank Depew, by the way, is still the leader that has made a proper pit stop. Is it? No, it's still a McAvern now. But I think it's worth a punt on that, don't you?
I do. I think we're going to see quite a few teams take an opportunity to do this here and then make it a pretty clear-cut one stop from this point on. And those that stay out then, as you mentioned, run the risk of a yellow shuffling them back to the back behind those that do pit here. So that's the risk that they have to try and balance. And it becomes a more difficult position when you're up towards the front of the field. Like Frank Depew, do you give up the track position potentially to get Robin Liddell in the car and then maybe be in a position to take advantage of a further full course yellow? Well, I'm happy I don't actually have to be team manager for any of these teams, and we'll leave that up to the capable folks that are.
Retirement, not unsurprisingly, for Sam Baker and the Baker Racing Car, 3 wheels on that wagon. CSM went behind the wall, and Victor Gonzalez Racing, another 3-wheeled TCR car. Track temperature now 95 degrees, 81 in the air, and from the front of the field, I did not expect this. Ford Koch and Austin Kreins comes in, and a whole host of cars are following them. Vin Barletta from Turner Motorsport. So this is far more than I expected. Ted Giovannis, yes, we absolutely thought he would. Paul Holton stayed out, but all the cars from 16th or 17th down, what I didn't expect to see were those cars at the sharper end of the field. But they've done their calculations, Ryan Marine, and they're playing the numbers right now.
I think so. I think they're trying to cover for a potential future yellow. I think they're also seeing it's not likely that you could do it on one stop. You're going to have to do 2, so let's go ahead and get this done here. And I think also if you're a team that has a pace disparity between your drivers, if your second driver is quicker than your starting driver, this is the time. The drive time is taken care of. Get your faster driver in now and let him go to work.
2 or 3 seconds lost there by Coupler Motorsport after the fuel came out and the driver was bolted in. Whether they were having a problem with one of the right-hand side tyres, I'm not sure. We'll let the pit stops for the GS cars that have just come in wind out, and I'll give you a rundown of what's going on with the cars that stopped. Also gives our tuner a chance to round up some people for some PDO pit lane reports. But just to confirm, the cars that came in: Turner Motorsport number 96 BMW, Honda Civic, Tim Lewis now aboard the KMW number 5, AR Motorsports back out, the Porsche with David Hampton behind the wheel, Jackson Bell now with the Coupler Motorsport Toyota GR Supra number 23, the blue and white car. Hugh Plum takes over Team TGM number 64, Stephen McAleer for Auto Technics, BMW Carbon, Aaron Povaledo in the number 4 car. LAP Motorsports Ford Mustang, Scott Thompson still in the pits, and Christine Sloss has come back. So Clayton Williams has taken over the Scott Thompson car, but shown as Christine still at the wheel of the Van der Sturm Racing. They might have not swapped their driver tag, and out of all of those, it looks to me as though the number 30 car has just dropped a lap on the leaders. Yes, it has, as they go through, but everyone else is still on the lead lap, albeit pretty lowly on the lead lap, but still on the lead lap. And Bryce Ward's car's not left the pits. That car is still shown in the pit lane. Let's go down to Arjuna for a BDO pit lane report.
They didn't come in on the initial race start, John. Instead, they elected to wait a lap and now come in. Although, a bit of a delay between Dan Arrow and the change of driver, so that might have cost them a couple of seconds. The fuel's already done. They're still working on the tires, but Dan is getting strapped into that car right now. I think I like this call, John, because in some ways that the pit lane was relatively busy with the 7 or so cars that we had coming down to the lane. This gives them a chance to come down by themselves and not blend in with any traffic. There was almost an incident on pit entry with Copeland Motorsports having the first pit box and almost being run into by the Autotechnic BMW.
Harrison Goodman and Dylan McIvern are side by side going down the back straight, but with a little bit of drafting help from Nick Persing from behind. The BMW goes through with the help of the Ford, bizarrely, as they were scrapping for second place. So Dylan McIvern now in second place, 2 seconds up the road. Nate Cicero, remember, has not stopped yet. Harrison Goodman now down to 4th, has not stopped yet. And that car, that yellow and black Porsche Cayman GT4, has a bit of a look of the Newman Porsche from 94-95 at Le Mans era, that colour scheme. There is a car running in that colourway, actually, out in Asia this weekend. Our leader, though, imperious at the front of the field. No stress whatsoever for Nate Cicero. He's been out there since the start. He's done his time. He's saved some fuel because of the full course yellows. And Ryan Marine, at the moment, their strategy windows opened right up.
Yeah, we'll see how long they can take it here, and then if there's enough yellow in the second half, maybe they could stretch this and try and do it on one stop. You got to think that might be what they're considering, just to see if that's a possibility. They're in a position where they can, and they can take it easy now. Cicero restarted right ahead of Goodman, who is a bit of a cork in the bottle right now. It took McIvern a little while to get by, but with the help of Persing, he did. That helped Cicero build that lead up over 5 seconds. Really good restart for Nate.
Following the championship battle, Luca Mars in the number 28 RS1 Porsche, who was off the track, and another Porsche off the track there is another red, white and black car, but that wasn't the championship leader. That was Gordon Scully for CSM, down in 13th position. He's back on the road now. However, Luca Mars now back up to 7th place and has the fastest lap of the race right now in TCR. This is how it shook up after that full course yellow. MMG, LP Montour leading from Brian Herder Autosport and Bryson Morris in the Hyundai, 93 from 33. Felthon Neto in the Precision Racing Audi in 3rd. Luke Rumberg in 4th in the Audi for RVA Graphics. Then 3 Hyundais from Brian Herder Autosport. Mason Filippi in the 98, Lance Bergstein in the 18, and Suelo Almeida in the number 9. That's your top 7, with Alex Rockwell in 8th position in the Audi. Eduardo Gore in the remaining Cupra in 9th position, and Dean Baker for Baker Racing in their Audi in 10th. That's how the TCRs line up. And down in the pit lane, Winward are in strife. Let's go to a BDO pit lane report.
I had thought that there was maybe a miscommunication with the driver change, but no, I think they were evaluating this 57 Mercedes, which has an alternator belt failure. Say that one 5 times fast. But just in front of them, John, the Stephen Cameron Racing, number 19, the Racing for Alzheimer's car comes in, and Sean Quinlan and Greg Lyfuge are going to swap around. Another team that's come in after the initial drop of the green flag. That's a relatively tidy stop so far, with the fuel having been done, and now just working on the tires. But good stop, just waiting now for the driver change before they can release the number 19.
Yeah, that's them coming in to try maybe and go an hour and 5 minutes with a bit of safety car help. Hearing that one of the BMWs had a pit gun jam on the pit road when they went to change tyres, and that's why that car has fallen back. Out goes David Hampton for AR Motorsports and Jackson Bell for Copeland Motorsports. He'll be hoping they're fueled to the end now as they head out for Toyota. And Gregory Leofuge for Stephen Cameron Motorsports. Jackson Bell, sorry, just going across the line, not coming out of the pit lane. My apologies. Fastest lap of the Turner BMW number 95's race last time around, a 55.5. for Dylan McIvern, but still slower than the leader, which is a 55.4. Nate Cicero still owing us a pit stop, of course, but they're getting perilously close here with a 5.5 second lead at the front of GS to being halfway through the race. Meantime, Ryan, a cracking scrap going on, coming down to the final corner in TCR, which was 2, 3, 4, 5 cars a moment ago. Now it's LP Montour versus Bryson Morris.
This is really good stuff. Montour got to the front in the pit stop shuffles, and Bryson Morris, this is the pole-sitting car, is stalking him right now. The two have separated themselves from the rest of the TCR field, which is embroiled in battles of their own, but Morris is looking pretty ominous if you're looking at it from the perspective of the Honda right now. That car has been fast all weekend. It's the pole-sitting car, and right now he's drawing a bead on the race leader in class.
Yeah, Luke Rumberg and Celso Neto battling for third in behind them. And that was a side-by-side scrap going into turn one at the Horseshoe a moment or two ago. Now, how much more can this car go? Nate Cicero has run an hour and 3 minutes, of which, call it 23 minutes, has been behind the Ford Mustang GTD safety car. Let's go down to the pit lane and get a BDO pit lane report. The Truth Serum and the hard Paddington Bear stare has been employed by Arjuna for this BDO pit lane report. What can you tell us about Macumbi-Macaleer Racing and how far into this race Nate Cicero can go, Arjuna?
Jensen Altsman has his helmet on, and he's just waiting for the signal to stand on the wall and get ready to jump into the car. Word is within the next 10 minutes they will be in, and TCR pit stops are not far away either. Both Precision Racing LA and MMG indicated that their drivers are unavailable for a chat, John, because they've got to get ready to go. So I think we're within 2 or 3 laps of TCR pit stops, and I can also tell you Morgan Burkhardt is starting to get ready to jump back into that CSM number 67.
Yeah, absolutely right. Have to check to see how long Gordon Scully's been in that car. The Winward car has gone behind the wall, and also there is a penalty, which is going to be a stop and 60-second hold, as we thought, for that incident down at turn one for the car barn number 4. Aaron Povoledo behind the wheel now. It wasn't him that caused the incident. He's going to have to take the pain. Let me see, 42 for Gordon Scully, got in at 42.47. So that is 18 minutes, and he's nearly there. He's nearly done his 40 minutes. And so that is why CSM are getting ready for when Gordon comes back into the pit lane. Well, this has split up the strategy, and our BDO pit lane reporter giving us plenty to think about. Michelin moment of the race, one for each of the classes. Maybe we haven't seen it yet, but maybe Macumbi-Macaleer Racing staying out. There's been a couple of good overtakes as well to talk about. Another lap completed by Nate Cicero and Ryan Marine. I think sometimes once you've committed to a strategy, you've just got to let it play out. And they decided not to come after 20 minutes when everybody else did. And lo and behold, it could have bitten them, but that pendulum might just be swinging back their way.
Yeah, it could, and we'll keep an eye on it, see how deep into this they can get. Every lap that they do here opens up the opportunity with maybe a little bit of help in the second half from a yellow to try and make it. But this is a little bit of a gamble here for not so much for Cicero, who's not running a full season, but Jensen Altsman is second in points. So they need this to pay off here if they're going to take advantage of it. If they end up on the back foot, this could really put them and him specifically on the back foot from a championship perspective with a couple of races to go. But conversely, if they play it just right, then their whole lot in life could totally change.
Let's go down to Arjuna for a BDO pit lane report. We'll keep our eyes on the 13. I think it'll be the next couple of laps for them. So you've probably got 3 or 4 minutes to have a chat. Where are you, Arjuna?
I'm down at one of our Ford Mustang GT4s and chatting with Sam Paley. Sam, missed a couple of rounds of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, but how good is it to be back behind the wheel of the GT4?
Oh, it's great. It's awesome to be back. This is the best platform in the world. I love the GT4 car. You know, Ford Mustang and Ford Performance have such a great package right now. It's just a pleasure every single time you're behind one of these cars. About to hop in right now. Nick had a fantastic first stint. This is his first ever weekend in a GT4 car. We're running P3 right now and second on strategy, so feeling really good.
Good luck. He's got to get into the car, John, so I'll let him put on his helmet and get ready to go.
Let's see if the leader comes in this time by. He's easing towards the right-hand side of the circuit, but no, he goes through. Meantime, Ryan Eversley has been installed in the Audi RS3 LMS TCR Precision Racing. He is still on the TCR lead lap, and with 57 minutes, nearly 58 minutes to go as he pulled out, they'll be hoping that's their last pit stop. Ryan Eversley taking that number 7 car to the end of the race, I reckon. And therefore, I reckon, and this is something to write down on a piece of paper, Precision Racing number 7 is the first car to make its last pit stop. So Ryan and I are making a note of that in the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre. The body language of the Ford Mustang GT4 from Macumbi Racing and Nate Cicero, the black and blue car that's going on under the bridge now and heading up through the Snake, the climbing S's towards South Bend and the old Oak Tree turn, would suggest to me that he is leaning on that car, Ryan, and he is making the very, very best and taking every bit of performance out of what's left in those Michelin tyres, and every drop of that racing fuel, VP racing fuel in that Mustang's tank.
I agree. I mean, he's building the gap to McEvern, who shouldn't be thinking too much about fuel. Their strategy is pretty set, having already made a stop, and I don't think saving is really a big part of their game plan, and yet the Mustang is still pulling away. It's been a couple tenths here or there with every single lap, and McEvern's gap now up to 7.4 seconds. It was 5.2 when we talked about it last time. So maybe this is an indication that this is a push lap, this is an in lap. We'll soon see.
Mechanical black flag for the Scott Thompson number 30 car. That car will have to come down pit lane as quickly as possible. Pit lane speed violation for Frank Depew, who came into the pit lane a moment or two ago. He has stretched through to give Robin Liddell a chance, but with a pit lane speed violation, they'll have to come back through, and that loses them the advantage of them making their last pit stop in GS 3 kilometres too quickly down the pit lane. That is a disaster for them, and they had made that work for them. Here's the TCR leader into the pit lane. LP Monto for MMG, followed in by the Gordon Scully CSM Porsche. He's definitely done his time, so that was a different way of doing it. Bob McCallan's come in for Ford Mustang and the 59 Core Motorsport. So here comes the MMG distressed livery. Brand new Michelin tyres for the front axle, and no thought of tyres on the back of that car. So that's the strategy they're playing. Nate Cicero still out there, coming up to the roller coaster. Yeah, front tyres only. 2 front tyres for the TCRs. I think we'll see a few doing that. Will anybody try just the left-hand side working tyres on GS? I don't think so. I just don't think they can make them last. Even with that 20 minutes of full course yellow, a new set of Michelin pilots to take it to the end. 54 minutes to go as Nate Cicero comes out of the final corner and peels off right. Here is the race leader with 8.5 seconds on the field, making his first pit stop. Arjuna Kankapati has this BDO pit lane report.
And I did talk to Jensen Altsman about 25 minutes ago when we had the flurry of GS pit stops. What he said, I like to be at the front of the field. And Nate Cicero has once again converted pole position into a dominant lead. Off come all 4 Michelin tires as Nate Cicero jumps out and now gets ready to strap in his teammate Jensen Altsman. Remember, these are Michelin Pilot Challenge cars. 5 lug nuts rather than the one that you see on the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship cars. The pit crew have a lot more work to do than necessarily they will do on Super Sunday. It's stickers across of all 4 of the tires for the number 13 as well. All 4 tires just about complete as the driver change comes to an end. They're just packing it full of fuel. But John, you wouldn't think they need to fill the car full of fuel. They've had to open the right door. Not sure what's happening here, but this is surely going to cost them valuable time.
Still putting fuel in, so they need all of this fuel to get the 52 minutes. They're trying to go to the end. Now they can go. I don't think that was an issue. Oh, it hasn't started. It hasn't started. Maybe it was. Arjuna, is the engine not fired?
It fired up for a second, but John, it's just every time it tried to roll away, it stopped again, and it's done so once more. The 13 has got absolutely nowhere to go as we have other GS pit stops underway. The AR Motorsport Porsche hits its marks, but now at a slight angle. John, this is disastrous for Macumbi McAleer Racing.
They had played the strategy perfectly, so either not down into first gear or some problem, perhaps with the pit lane speed limiter or the engaging of the clutches on the transmission, but that car fires but will not pull away, and their chance of getting back out and leading this motor race has disappeared. It's evaporated. Dylan McIvern comes in from the lead for Turner Motorsport. He's followed in by Sean McAllister, and incredibly now that number 13 Mustang has dropped off the lead lap. In fact, it's right on the end of the lead lap, isn't it, Ryan? That is awful luck for them.
Oh, heartbreaking. They were really in an interesting position strategically. Not sure we'll really get to see that play out now, but you have to say, for another front-running car, some heartbreak too. We just got word that 93, that's LP Montour and Carl Whitmer, they were just given a penalty, a drive-through for incident responsibility with Robin Liddell. And they were running at the front of the field in TCR when that happened. They've been shuffled back a couple of positions, I assume, because of the aforementioned contact. But that's another, not just leader in the race, but championship contender. That's the other thing. Championship contenders in both sides of this, both of the cars that we've been chronicling here, are having their seasons come undone right before our eyes.
Right, let's pick that up in a moment. Arjuna is already canvassing the pit lane as to who thinks they can go to the end. What do you know, Arjuna? I think anybody who's stopping now is okay. What are you being told? Oh, hang on one second.
I think is...
We've got, sorry to interrupt that, we've got drama for the bright orange Supra. This is the number 54 car, and that is a right rear puncture. The Pan Am car has led the motor race, and there's an issue. Now they'll bring it back into the pit lane, and just now finding out about that penalty for the Montreal Motorsport Group. Honda as well, that was coming out of Tree, just drove Robin Liddell completely off the circuit. That's why they're going to have to come through. So here comes the 54 into the pit lane, another distressed livery, and somehow Caio Chavez has managed to keep that right rear tyre just about on the rim. As in comes RS1 in the pit lane, Arjuna is down there.
And so after Luca Mars did an impressive job in the opening stint to rebound after 2 disappointing rounds, he'll strap Jan Halen into the car and they will be good to the end. John, a quick word on the 13. Nate Cicero about 15-20 minutes ago had reported a transmission issue over the radio, and so I'm just wondering if there's maybe something to do with the heat, because it has started to warm up here down on pit lane. Maybe just a lingering issue that took a while for them to get the car into gear and finally be able to pull away off pit lane.
John Miller will take a drive-through penalty for Brian Herder Autosport in the number 18. That was another pit lane penalty. pit lane speed violation. Excuse me, that was the 16, not the 18 car. My apologies. And the car bar number 39, more than 2 wheel guns being used. That's a drive-through as well. That's a bizarre one. Pit lane temperature in the air, 81 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius, but 39 Celsius is 102 Fahrenheit on the track. The Michelin tyres, Ryan Marine, are going to have to work hard, as are the drivers, for the next 48 minutes.
No question, and yeah, it's going to be a real challenge to make them last and make sure you've got something to fight with towards the end of this race. Should a full course yellow come out and punch everybody up again. But how about the championship front runners that are having the wheels, proverbially, thankfully, fall off here today? I mean, that penalty for the 39, too many wheel guns. That's the 39. That's Sean McAllister and Jeff Westphal. They were third in GS points coming in. We also had the penalty that you alluded to for the 27. That's Austin Crines and Stephen McAleer. They were fourth in GS points coming into this weekend. Somehow, RS1, despite having it off earlier in the race, they seem to be just keeping their heads down and letting a lot of those that are chasing them in the championship fall by the wayside. This is the kind of day that could help them re-solidify their hold on the championship lead in GS.
Moisey Aretsky in the number 44 McLaren then leads the motor race. And how far can they go in? 47 minutes to the end of the race. We've seen the guys from Ibiza Farm Motorsports try some tricky strategy in the past. Moisey doing a good job. They've made one pit stop. They'll want to make one more. And that's 25 laps, or if you prefer, well, they were in at 30. They've nearly done an hour. In 2 minutes, in 4 minutes, they will have done a full hour out there. But of course, there's been 8 yellow laps in that, 8 full course caution laps in that. Meantime, let's find out where the erstwhile leader has dropped back into the running. Nate Cicero is coming up, just about to get back on the lead lap by the look of it, as it comes up behind the McLaren, which peels off into the pit lane. So yeah, absolutely, at that moment, the leader pulls into the pit lane for their final pit stop, and through goes the number 13, the car that's qualified on pole. So Jensen Altsman now back onto the lead lap, but a long way back down through the field. And so just underlining what Arjuna told us in the BDO pit lane report from around about 20 minutes into the race. Transmission issues on that number 13 Mustang, and I did say it, I thought it might be either not in the right gear or the clutches weren't engaging. Not much you can do with that. Let's go down to Arjuna for another BDO pit lane report with 44 minutes to go.
I've caught up with Celso Neto behind the wheel of the Precision Racing LA number 7 to start things off. And Celso, Ryan had said that he thinks that you guys could have been even further up the field in qualifying.
Yeah, for sure. There was a red flag in the middle of my best lap in qualifying, so that really took our chances from there. But we still had a good starting spot, so it's been a good race.
And now up to 4th in that number 7 with about, I think it's 12 seconds covering that top 4 right now. Tires, that was something that Ryan was mentioning. What's it like at the end of the stint in this Audi RS3?
Oh man, it's like driving a muscle car, 2,000 horsepower. It's wheel spin city, but name of the game is definitely tire wear. We just noticed that from the first practice this weekend. It's something that's been in everyone's mind throughout the whole grid. So just a game of tire management, whoever has the best car to manage tires, and the driving as well for sure. But it's been a big challenge for me, and I think we did a good job hitting in 3rd, and hopefully now Ryan can execute like he always does and put us on the podium.
Thank you very much, Celso.
Ryan Marine. And we have 43 minutes to go. So anyone who hasn't driven needs to be in the car in the next minute or so. I think I'm just looking through, can't see any of the names of the starting drivers. Everybody's made at least one pit stop, but of course you don't have to have changed your driver at that. And right now we've got a variety of pit stop strategies going on in both categories.
Yeah, we do. It's a lot to stay on top of, and I still have a little bit of number crunching to do here, but I think the only one... Nope, never mind. I was going to say there was one car that might need to do a driver change, but no, Morgan Burkhardt should be good. Gordon Scully did do the middle stint, so everything is situated there. They just took the unconventional approach of doing that driver change before the drive time had been elapsed there the first time. But yeah, I think maybe going back to the very beginning, remember we saw what was shaping up to be a likely yellow, and 4 cars came into the pits. One of them was the 95 for Turner Motorsport, which now finds itself leading this race. And I've got to do a little thinking to see how that could have helped position them to be in this spot. But right now, Turner, on a weekend where you just look at their pace in practice and in qualifying, they certainly weren't lighting things up, but they might just be in a position where they can steal a win here today.
It's going to be pretty close. They changed drivers just before the half hour, so they've been out there about 10 minutes at the moment. There's 42 minutes to go. That would mean they need a 52-minute stint out of Francis Seldorf from VP Racing Fuel in the tank, and of course from the Michelin tyres. It's doable. I think that's eminently doable, and the 8.9 seconds that they have got of a lead means that they don't have to be running flat out right now. They are round about half a second slower last time around than Jan Halen. What a turnaround for RS1 as well, totally. Ryan, in the dirt at turn 1, and down into the late teens of GS, looking like their championship haul of points was going to be minimal, and then the race has come back to them.
It would be easy for them to start to panic a little bit with the way the last couple of races have gone, but that's not been the case at all. They've been on top of things. Really impressive the way they've stayed focused on the task at hand. And I think Luca Mars deserves some credit too, because he had a lot of grass on the radiator inlets, but must have been able to get behind someone, because we got a shot of that car a few laps later and it had cleared away. So that was pretty heads-up driving by the young man, I think, to be able to preserve their situation, because that had the chance of necessitating an extra pit stop and really dropping them down the order, and instead they've been able to rally and now sit a very solid second.
Yeah, I think when the safety car came out, he might have done a little bit of braking and accelerating and tried to use the G-forces to push out that grass. Whatever he did, it worked. Didn't need the extra pit stop. Jackson Bell comes in for his final stop. I called that one a little bit too early before for Copeland Motorsport in the Toyota GR Supra. It's the number 23 car. Francis Seldorf's just put his fastest lap and the car's fastest lap of the race in Turner Motorsport's BMW number 95 that leads the race by 8 seconds now from Jan Halen in the RS1 number 28 in second. Then the 2 Mustangs, they're just second further back. Sam Paley and Billy Johnson now, of course, 60 and 59 for the 2 core cars. Gregory Leofouge for Stephen Cameron Racing's Ford Mustang makes it 3 blue ovals in the top 5. Then it's Team TGM. They've come back from nowhere, both of their cars languishing down the field, and it is Matt Plum in the 46 who's now in 6th position, 14 seconds off the lead, but only, well, somewhere near 5 seconds away from a podium position. In TCR, Mark Wilkins, of course it's Mark Wilkins, in the number 33 for Brian Herder Autosport, who got in about 7 laps ago, and that Hyundai then started again just before the half hour, so they're going to have to do under an hour. I think that's doable for that car, so that's a genuine position for Brian Hurd at Autosport, sitting 7th overall, by the way, at the moment, 157.9 last time around. Harry Gottsacker in the team car, the 98 car, is in second, but somewhere back, and with just 4 seconds over Jaden Conwright, who looks like he's finishing the race for RVA Graphics and their number 31 Audi. He's got about a second on Ryan Eversley, who's charging back up through the field. Remember, I reckoned that Ryan was the first, and Precision Racing in the Audi, the first team to do their last pit stop, and that's worked for them. Now with an absolute chance of a podium spot and possibly something better, but he's under pressure from Denny Dupont, who've come back as well in the number 76. A lot of candidates in those that I've just mentioned there for the Michelin moment of the race, because they've pulled it back from nowhere. But at the front of the field, a 7.5 second gap now between Francis Seldorf and Jan Heylen. The chase is on with under 38 minutes to go. Ryan.
Fun to watch. A couple of Mustangs battling here. Great to have Core running 2 cars once again. It's something we haven't talked about too much yet, but Nick Persing had the opening stint. Sam Paley, who started the season with McCumbee McAleer, then has been gone for a little while. He's now back, having a really good day, running in 3rd, but he's got his hands full with a couple of Mustangs, actually. First is Billy Johnson, as successful in a Mustang as anyone has been in any car in this series, historically speaking. And then Greg Leafouche as well. That car spent some time off track earlier in the race, but has recovered nicely for Stephen Cameron Racing. And watching these 3 Mustangs, it's kind of like a Mustang Challenge race broke out here in the mid-pack, a Michelin Pilot Challenge.
And that's Stephen Cameron Racing for Mustang, running with the Racing to End Alzheimer's name livery on that car. Our number 2 end ELZ.org. Are the number 2 end ELZ.org. Go and have a look. Great initiative from the team. Francis Seldorf in a bit of traffic. Might just be costing him some time. In behind another Ford Mustang, as we've been talking rather a lot about them, but there's a lot of them out there. This is the number 30 car, which had its problems earlier on. It's got Thompson at the wheel. Well, was earlier on. Now given over to his teammate to bring that car to the end of the race. Clayton Williams, Californian for LAP, bringing that car home. And really the leader needs to be by there. It's costing him time here. Back to the chasing Jan Heylen, now down to just 6.5 seconds. We'll keep an eye on that gap between 1st and 2nd. Let's take another BDO pit lane report.
It's an incredible story that maybe some haven't heard about, from professional pianist to professional racing driver. Suelio Almeida's only in his 2nd full season and his 2nd time starting the race in this Hyundai Elantra. How was the race start from this number 9?
It was definitely the best race the whole year for me. Finally feeling like I'm becoming one with the car, understanding the whole progress as the tires get worn out. Yeah, it was extremely fun. We had a lot of action. I was fighting for position the whole race. And yeah, no, this was great. I have a lot of data now. I have a much better understanding of the car that I was lacking in the previous races. And that's part of the progress that I really wanted this year. And I'm looking forward to Indy and Royal Atlanta now to put that new learning in practice even more.
I'm guessing to become a professional pianist, there's a lot of refining that goes along over the years and years of practicing. How much of that approach can you translate into, on a weekend, trying to get yourself faster and faster?
Honestly, all of it. It's about like the honor and the love that you put into work, the patience as well, and the curiosity that you put to the details so that you can polish your craft, you know. So it's the same thing. You know, I have over 10,000 hours of music experience, so I know how much work it takes to become good at something, and I try to always remind myself that I need this, I need all this track time, I need all this experience to become the racing driver that I want to be.
How many hours on the sim, roughly?
Over 10,000 hours as well.
Thanks, Suelio.
Thank you so much.
Great story, absolutely fabulous. Hello to CJ, tuned in from Ottawa in Canada, cheering on Team Tomlinson not being the best day for Ron, and Precision Racing's number 37, that guy in the pits at the moment, one of the early casualties. Thanks for tuning in anyway. What a run back for Luca Mars and Jan Halen. What looked like it was going to be another character building day. They've now pulled the gap down to the leader, down to just 2 seconds, as Jan Halen has been absolutely scything his way through the traffic. You can understand why, as leader of the race, you have to be a little bit circumspect, Ryan. But this has been, for a car that leads, and a team that leads the championship in RS1 and the red, white and black number 28 Porsche, this has been a stunning opening part of the stint by Jan Halen, who has absolutely left nothing out there coming through the traffic, and he's now got the leader in sight.
Well, traffic had a part to play in it, but on the last lap, he got 2 seconds. 1 lap, 2 seconds. Unbelievable. And not a surprise. Jan's so experienced, an old hand in these Porsches, whether it's a GT4 Cayman or the 911s as well. Had a lot of success in them in IMSA over the years. It actually won a couple of SRO GT races here at VIR about a month or so ago. So it's a place that's been really good to him here this year. And right now, thinking about that championship, the best thing they can do to create the separation is to get up front and win this race. But you can't take too much risk, especially on a day when so many of their championship rivals have had one problem or another.
And should say that those 2 cars, first and second, were in the pits for their, what they hope will be their final pit stop on the same lap. So there's no offset at all there in fuel or tyres for Turner's BMW or the RS1. They were both in 9 laps ago, but it is basically the best laps are a second apart, and the last 3 or 4 laps it's been the sharp end of 2 seconds a lap. It's eased off a little bit now as Seldorf has got a little bit of clear air as he goes through the first corner. Next car up the road is one of the TCRs, Larry Pegram, in the Pegram Racing Hyundai Elantra. He's just put that car's fastest lap of the race in. He's under 2 minutes. Anybody who's lapping under 2 minutes around here in a TCR car is doing okay. Best lap of the TCR race, 1:56.3. Ryan Eversley now in 4th position and just 4 seconds away from a podium position in that Precision Racing LA number 7 Audi. That was the car. They rolled the dice early, made their final pit stop first of the TCRs, and he's making the most of that at the moment. Fastest lap, by the way, in GS is a 54.3 from the RS1 Porsche. In second place at the moment, under 2 seconds behind the yellow and blue Turner BMW, coming out of the oak tree and down the long back straight, the Madison Avenue. A couple of little rises here. Crests the first one, then into a small dip, and then over the top of another rise before braking slightly downhill and also having to turn at the same time as you go into the top of the roller coaster. Everything that a car that is slowing down doesn't like, downhill and turning. You have to be really careful with your brake application there. So easy to lock up the front wheel and then take to the grass. Well, this looks more of a when rather than an if in terms of Jan Halen going to the lead, Ryan Murray.
And I think it could be very soon as well. Halen just ran a 54.9 compared to a 56.1. That is a massive pace disparity. The Porsche is flying right now, and he's got plenty of time, nearly 30 minutes to try and find a way by.
As I said, both came in on the same lap, round about 23, 24 minutes ago. We've got 28 minutes on the lap, so that's 20, let's call it 29. So you're talking about 54 minutes for a stint. It's on the edge, but I do think even here, with a little bit of fuel saving maybe towards the end, because there's no fuel saving going on by Halen at the moment. Hello to Tom Marshalek, who's replaced his clutch today in the washing machine. It's now done, and he's watching on the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Hello, Tom. And hello to Carol Brink, who says just about your track temperature, which is 99 Fahrenheit at the moment. At Palm Springs Airport a couple of days ago, the tarmac there was, wait for it, 162 Fahrenheit. I think the Michelin tyre engineers might have called a halt to it at that point if we'd been thinking about racing there. At IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch. Onto the front stretch. BMW, Turner against Porsche from RS1. Jan Halen in the hole in the air, being made by the number 95 car, goes to the left-hand side. It's the long way round. Francis Seldorf may be fighting an unequal battle here, but he's fighting nonetheless. He'll do absolutely everything he can to keep that Porsche behind him for as long as he can. Is there an element of fuel saving in that Turner BMW? Does Jan Halen know he can't make it to the end? And he's just using it all now and hoping for an opportunity to splash or maybe get another intervention from the Ford Mustang GTD safety car. They've got traffic. An opportunity perhaps for the second place car at the moment to find their way through. TCR traffic ahead in the shape of Matty Oust for Brian Hurd at Autosport in the blue and white Hyundai. That's the number 9 car ahead of them. Into Oak Tree, little lock up by Matty Oust. 2 TCR cars now. And oh no, someone's gone off. It's one of the Audis, is it? Yes, it is, and it's a full course yellow. That's a heavy impact for Bruno Colombo in the Rockwell Autosport Audi. Was running in 9th. So for the moment, Ryan Marine, the action at the front of the field and the hostilities are brought to a slight cessation, and Francis Seldorf gets to cool his BMW and his Michelin tyres, and Jan Halen possibly cursing his luck here that he didn't get by the lap before.
Yeah, definitely. He would have loved to have been out front when this yellow came out, and if nothing else, it means he's going to have to think about playing a little bit of defense, at least on the restart. But it also removes, I would suspect, any lingering doubt about fuel. I don't think anybody would be in any trouble now that we've got this full course yellow here, which will last a good chunk of time. I suspect close to 10 minutes. Oh, I take it back. We're told it will be a short yellow, so that will speed things up considerably. But even still, we shouldn't have any more concerns with fuel the rest of the way here, and we can really focus on the most important thing, and hopefully everyone's all right in this incident. It looked like a pretty heavy impact head-on into the tire bundle for Bruno Colombo in the Rockwell car, and the safety crew is there. Looks like Bruno's moving around inside the car.
Now, with somewhere over, getting on for 45, 50 minutes between the last 2 cautions, you may reasonably be asking, why is this a short yellow? Normally only within 15 minutes. It's because we're inside the last 30 minutes of the motor race. Now, also, we had a car in the closed pit there. Clayton Williams came in the LAP Motorsport Ford Mustang. I don't think he stopped. He's got a pit time of 45 seconds. If he did, it was only for a splash of fuel, and that would be allowed. You're allowed 5 seconds, which is called emergency service. No point in letting cars run out of fuel behind the safety car. The good news is that Bruno Colombo is out of the Rockwell Autosport Audi. Now, he was in front of the leaders and just locked up and went straight on. Now, that's surprising. I wonder if he touched the grass just before that at turn 10, because in endurance spec, you can have ABS on the TCRs. They do have a lot of downforce TCRs, so you have to work pretty hard to lock the tyres up at speed, but you can have TCRs with, as soon as your races are more than an hour, you're allowed to have the ABS in it. Whilst the recovery goes on, let's have some BDO pit lane reports, and we'll start off with Nick Persing, who's with Arjuna.
His teammate Sam Paley's sitting in third right now, and Sam told us, Nick, this is your very first time racing in GT4. Having fun?
Yeah, I'm having loads of fun. I got to give big thanks to Core Motorsports. They've put together a great racing package. This is my first time driving a GT car other than the Super Trofeo. I'm running in that series full time this season. But Sam came to me with a great offer to run this for the last couple of races this season, and I couldn't turn it down. You know, Sam's been a longtime friend of mine. We drive very similarly, so we like a similar setup on our car, and yeah, we just worked hard at it all weekend, and now we're sitting P3, so just waiting on him to bring it back home.
Does that mean we're going to see you for both Indy and Road Atlanta as well?
Not entirely sure on Indy, because Super Trofeo, I'm running the championship there, so that kind of takes priority for me, but for sure at Road Atlanta. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Strategy-wise, did you plan this out to have Sam? Because I saw him put his helmet on, take it off, put it on, take it off. Were you just playing it by ear?
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly what we had to do, is play it by ear. I got to give a big thanks to Rick. He's the one been calling the strategy all day. You know, he's been doing a phenomenal job. Obviously, you look where we're sitting. You know, we went backwards, and then we went forwards, and then we went a little back, and then we started going forwards again. So, you know, that's all him. He's the mastermind behind it all, so just big thanks to him.
And Core sitting third and fourth, John, a very strong showing so far here at VIR.
Let's just take stock of where we are. Ryan Marine, 20 minutes to go. We're going to be down towards probably something like 15 minutes. And what's becoming usual now, the IMSA Michelin Pilot Talent Challenge dash to the checkered flag. Francis Seldorf holding on. If he was on fuel save mode, he shouldn't need to be now. This could be a real grandstand finish.
I think you're right. Somehow it seems like these races always seem to end up like this in a sprint for the checkered flag. I remember in my days as a rider, you know, you try and have some of your story done so you could go into the end of the race and only have a little bit to finish off. And I never could manage to do it for whatever reason when covering this series. It always seemed like it threw a curveball or two my way before the end of the race. What I think this does, though, is it brings back into the picture a couple of cars that had some misfortune earlier. I bring to light Stephen McAleer. That car had a penalty. It's down in 14th, but has been pretty quick this weekend. Let's see if he can move forward, and they need to stay in line for the championship. They're kind of sort of in that conversation, and they'd really need to salvage something here with the car they're chasing having a pretty good day running up in the second spot. I think Robin Liddell is worth keeping an eye on. That car somehow on the lead lap despite all of its problems today, down at 15th and in a position to charge forward. And Jensen Altsman too, who is another one that needs a good result or else risk losing a lot of ground in the points. He's all the way down in 16th, but this now brings him back with everybody else and presents at least an opportunity to try and get back up through this field.
Ryan Marine and John Hindhaugh in the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre. Start thinking, gentlemen, Arjuna and Ryan, about our Michelin moments of the race. A great overtake. Perhaps something special from one or other of a driver in a car, or perhaps a call from a crew chief. GS and TCR. I think RS1 have got to be in with a shout for that. Luke Mars didn't lose his head when he was shunted off the track. And Jan Heelan's driving since the restart. I mean, he closed in nearly 7 seconds before the safety car came out. Also, I'm looking at Precision Racing LA. They got Ryan Eversley right back in the fight in that number 7 Audi. I know it's not a strategy award, we'll do that tomorrow, but it is a moment. They took their opportunity very well, as did RVA actually in TCR. Now with the majority of the GS cars and the TCR cars on the lead lap, are we going to see something special from somebody further down the field? I always look for Robert Liddell's name at this part of the race. Ryan Moraine, he's in 15th at the moment, and he could be top 5 by the time we get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, I threw his name out there too, and there's a reason for it. He's got a knack for driving forward in situations much like this one, and has so much experience in this series, being in this position. Some wildlife apparently interested in taking in, but wasn't in the race, but wasn't necessarily happy to see it under yellow, so it's retreated back into the woods. But looks like it might have reason to be watching here in a moment, because the lights are back off of the safety car, and with just about 17 minutes to go, it'll be a little bit under that when we finally do restart, John. There's plenty of time for some fireworks before this race is through.
Hello to Gary Paravani in the media centre with Nick and Christian. Just chilling out at the moment, be on the edge of their seats now. We're going back to green shortly. Let's have a quick word with Luca Mars and hear his side of that story of what happened down at the Horseshoe. And Arjuna, in this BDO pit lane report, he must have thought that their race was over at that point.
I mean, Luca, what was going through your mind when you were off the track and struggling to find the grip and get back onto the asphalt?
Yeah, with our strategy call, had us pit for fuel and cycle to the back, so kind of had to come through. One of the drivers got a little offline. I just shot to his outside and just kind of doored me. I ran off. I was able to get back on, lose a couple positions. Luckily, nothing happened to the car. I was able to continue, just put my head down, getting laps away, and just keep going at it. I mean, I was out in the car for a while. It was really hot out. And the RS1 guys, they had this car dialed. I was able to just keep coming through the field. I was able to pit from pretty close up to the front. And Jan's running in second right now. There's 15 minutes left, and it seems like one of the fastest cars out there, so it's looking good for us.
And I know you haven't been feeling great. How difficult was that stint?
Yeah, the heat and this cold I've been having. My voice is really congested right now. It just really kicked my butt out there, but I was able to just manage on, pull through, and give the car to Jan, so hopefully he can bring this one home.
Great drive so far. Let's see if they can close it out, John.
Yeah, that was at the top of the roller coaster. My apologies, not at the Horseshoe. It was the contact with Bryce Ward, wasn't it? Hearing that we have another official retirement as we're coming back to green flag, and that is for the Alex Rockwell Autosport development car. That was the Bruno Colombo car that was in the wall, so no surprise there. Down to the inside on the restart. Well, there is that, the Michelin moment of the race. Easy as you like, and Jan Heylen drives through as if there was an extra lane on the circuit and goes to the point. Championship leader in the lead of the race. Behind him, Sam Paley and Billy Johnson and Gregory Leofouge, the multiple Mustangs that are there, the herd of Mustangs. Then the Aston Martin of Matt Plum. Turner Motorsports second car, Robbie Foley's in there as well. But how easy was that pass down into the first corner? Jan Heylen goes by Francis Seldorf. Maybe Francis knows that he can't fight him. That's the only thing I can think of, Ryan, because he didn't block at all.
No, he didn't. He might have known that was inevitable. Jan got a great run out of Hogpin and set it up nicely. And tell you what, I thought he was going to have to fight for it, but that one went about as easily as you'd ever see this deep into a race.
Pass under yellow for CSM. That's the Zach Veach, Harrison Goodman car. There we'll have a drive through for that in the number 16. They've had a character building day, I think it's fair to say. Not only is Jan Heylen passed and gone the lead, he's cleared off by the better part of a second. The battle for second and third, and the second two places on the podium at the moment between 8 or 9 cars, actually, going all the way back to Zach Veach. See, then off at the top of the hill. That is the number 98. That's the second place car in TCR, and Harry Gottsacker in the Hyundai Elantra is in the wall. And that
championship leader
is exactly right. Now he's restarted the engine. We're still green. And that is right at the top of the roller coaster. He was in close proximity to Jaden Conwright for RVA, but I can't see if there was any contact there. We're still green, waiting to see if that car comes back onto the track. 12, call it 13 minutes to go. Jan Halen by a second, still has not moved, I'm hearing. So Mark Wilkins leads, Jaden Conwright second, Ryan Eversley now third, and Denis Dupont in fourth, with MMG back up to fifth. There's another comeback story from the number 93 car, Ryan.
Yeah, you're right. Really, actually, both of those cars, DuPont and Whitmer, both, they had penalties that had them back in the races. Now, finally, Godsacker's able to reverse out of the tire barrier and will continue, so we stay green. But this is massive in the TCR Championship, John. Just 20 points separating Godsacker from DuPont and Preston Brown. They had the penalty early in the race for the contact that we had really in the opening hour. And that really had them on the back foot, but now they find themselves fourth and crucially well ahead of the car they're battling for the title.
11th, I reckon, Gottsack dropped down to, and he may come into the pit lane. I don't think he'll drop any further down than 11th. Let's just see if there's any other TCRs that are running. The Precision Racing car has just come back out. Actually, that's the Tomlinson car. That will please our Canadian viewers and listeners, but there's not enough time for them to... No, there's not enough time for them to make up the gap back to Harry Gottsacker. Harry Gottsacker in 11th place, so no better than 11th. Side by side through the first corner for position. Jaden Conwright battling away with Mark Wilkins, and Conwright has gone to the lead. However, Jaden is under investigation for the incident at the top of the hill. Now, race control will have seen more than I have. We'll wait for that. We've got 10 minutes left. Let's go to down to the TCR area of the pit lane, where we can take this pit lane report from MMR.
Talking quickly with the 93 LP Montour standing by. LP, a tough opening stint with the penalty as well, but the joys that is endurance racing. Back inside the top 5 and now fighting with your championship leaders as Carl really pushes the pace.
Yeah, Carl is pushing 100% right now. I got the contact with the 71 that throughout our alignment. Unfortunate for the penalty. I won't comment on it, but you know, cheers on Carl that he's doing everything he can with a not so well car right now.
So a little bit of balance issues potentially. How were the conditions when you handed over the car? Was the track still feeling as greasy as a lot of people have described?
Yeah, the track was still greasy, but I was able to save my tires, so I had a very good car at the end of the stint. That's why I was able to keep the lead. So yeah, car was good.
Thanks, LP.
MMG, sorry, not MMR. My apologies. Well, Jan Halen is making this look far more easy than it is. Sam Paley now in second, whilst all that was playing out. He's got by Francis Seldorf as well. I do think, Ryan, that there must be an issue with that BMW. It is carrying a little bit of battle damage, but it just does not seem, in particular, to have the straight line speed. So Sam Paley up to second is now a second away from the leaders and lapped pretty much identical last time around. Jan Halen with a 155.857, Sam Paley a 155.887. So the pace of the first and second cars are very similar. that's not to say that Sam might not be able to turn up the wick, but how hard does Jan need to push? He is ahead now. He's winning the race, and he's ahead of all his championship contending competitors.
Right, he's got this right where he wants it. He's got that second gap that he can manage now the rest of the way. The team will be keeping him informed about that gap, so he knows how much he needs to push. Relative to the BMW, I would say that car only qualified 9th. BMW's, especially the Turner cars, really were kind of back half of the top 10 cars in qualifying, so maybe we're just seeing some of the true pace of the car coming to the fore here. When you factor in, we've got a Porsche and a Ford first and second. It was Porsche and Ford that took the front row back in qualifying for this race. So to some degree, maybe there is a problem for Seldorf, but perhaps also it's just, for whatever reason this weekend, the Porsche and the Mustang have been incredibly solid.
Big news from the TCR ranks is that Jaden Conwright in the RVA Graphics Motorsport Audi number 31 will not be penalised. No action for what went on at the top of the hill. Incidental is what race control are saying. That may well be discussed further, I'm sure, particularly by that number 98 crew. Harry Gottsager is rolling again, but it's a lap off the lead. But as I say, I don't think he's going to be able to improve. He's 32 seconds behind Tim Lewis, and he is gaining on him, but only by about a second a lap. So that is going to throw the TCR Championship wide open. With a little bit of back of a piece of paper calculations, if it ends right now with Denny DuPont in 6th position, I think they take the championship lead.
Yes.
Very, very tight. Yeah. Meantime, the car that was leading earlier on, with a battle going on again behind him, Jensen Altsman, 13th position. Jackson Bell in behind him, just getting shuffled back one position there as the 57 came through. Now that 57's off the pace, is it not? Yes, it's laps down. So that wasn't a pass for position. I apologise. Tom Murrell's in there as well. I don't think anybody's told the young Dutchman Dan Arrow in the Winward Racing car, as far as he's concerned, he's racing all the cars ahead for the championship. And you know what? I haven't got a problem with that. First opportunity in the Michelin Pilot Challenge here in the US. Drives for Winward in Europe. And that 57 AMG seems to have a bit of pace, as he's right in behind Jackson Bell again. Pulls to the inside at turn 1, drops back in. Right ahead of Jackson, that is a battle for position with the Pan Am Motorsport Toyota and Stephen McAleer in there as well. So they're all having a bit of a scrap. All in behind Jensen Altsman. I took a breath there for a moment because a red, white and black Porsche is going behind the wall. However, that was Mergen Burkhardt and not the race and championship leader. They are so similar at first glance. And the CSM car, who'd fought their way back with a bit of unusual rotation of their drivers, has gone behind the wall at turn 3. So we're inside the last 5 minutes. Arjuna Kankapati, your GS Michelin moment of the race, please.
This is tough, because I think we often say we don't go with the winners, but RS1 have played the strategy really well. So I'll go slightly counter to the norm and go second place in that Core Motorsports number 60, John, because Sam Paley, having to get the program back on track after losing his seat a couple of rounds ago, to come back into the grid, to perform like this, hits a real statement, not just from him, but his teammate Nick Persing and the whole of Core Motorsports as well.
And what about TCR, Arjuna?
Now that one is a lot more difficult, if you ask me. I was just over at the number 31 crew and quickly talking to Luke Rumberg. what a win that would be for them if they were able to hold on. But maybe you also look at Ryan Eversley. The call to come in first of the TCRs for the final stop has seen them get up to third.
Down to the last 4 minutes. I think we'll see the white flag next time around. So quickly to Ryan Marine. TCR, Michelin moment of the race, an overtake. Some brilliant strategy, something that went very right for one of the teams.
Maybe the no call from race control on the contact, right? Between the 31 and the 98. That had the potential to really change things up. Instead, it sets up the 31 to fight for the win of this race.
Yeah, I mentioned precision earlier on. They took their opportunity with the early call to come into pit lane. But I think Jaden Conwright and his drive through the field is going to be good enough to take the Michelin moment of the race for RVA Graphics, even if they don't get the win from this. In GS, Ryan, where's your vote going there?
Well, if I could quickly maybe make an amendment to TCR, we just saw Carl Whitmer with a wounded car drive around Ryan Eversley to get up on the podium. And this could be a huge day for them in the championship. They're ahead of both of the cars they're chasing, so let's file that one away. As far as GS goes, the restart for Jan Halen was tremendous. You could make a case for a couple of other things, but the power move to the inside of Zeldorf and then the way he's never looked back from there has my attention.
Yeah, I absolutely understand as we come to the white flag now. We don't always give it to the leaders, and massive respect to Core Motorsport and both of their cars on the podium. But I think Michelin moment of the race has to go to Jan Halen for his drive through the traffic to get onto the back of the leader before the safety car came out. And then, as you said, Ryan, the power move, and I like that. It was a power move down the inside to take the lead. TCR, my goodness, yeah, where does it go? Is it the winner? Is it MMG getting back on the podium to hold on to the lead? I think it's such a significant race victory for Jaden Conwright and the rest of the RVA Graphics Motorsport team, and Jaden has driven very, very well. I think it's got to go to RVA Graphics Motorsport and Jaden Conwright's drive through to take the lead of the motor race. So those are our two Michelin moments of the race. Jan Halen for the drive-through traffic in the number 28 RS1, and the power move as described by Ryan Marine to take the lead. And for once, it's two winners. How unusual is that? Jaden Conwright coming through to take a very significant win for the number 31 crew, RVA Graphics Motorsport. The responsible adult will note those down as we reflect on what has been, again, hopefully it will not be changed after the checkered flag. Just checking through all of the investigations, they are completed, and at the line it is RS1 who celebrate. That is a race that could have gone terribly, terribly wrong for them. It did at one stage, with Luca Mars on the grass and dropping down into the late teens. Great strategy, clean driving, and a power move at the end to put Jan Halen back at the front, and they extend their championship lead. In TCR, RVA Graphics Motorsport coming through to take the victory for Jaden Conwright, who sees the checkered flag, and that will be one very, very excited team. Luca Mars more than did his bit at the start of the race for that Manchester Hydraulics and RVA Graphics and Wraps machine, and the Racing to End Alzheimer's sponsorship on there, or graphics on there, very proudly as well. Let's hear from Luca Mars. That is a victory to be proud of, Arjuna, and the Michelin moment of the race.
And that's how you bounce back from two slightly lackluster results. Luca Mars back on top, big smile on your face.
Yeah, super happy with this one. We went a little slump there, 2 races in a row. Just a bad result, but super happy we were able to get it done today. Kind of up and down race, but gave the car to Yarn in a good spot. He was just killer fast out there. The whole team did a great job just working on this car all weekend. We knew we had a car to beat. Qualified 1 spot off the pole and ended up first, so can't ask for anything more.
This was your team won our Michelin moment of the race, but is this also kind of defining moment maybe of the championship, re-establishing yourself with 2 rounds left to go?
Yeah, it was huge. We had 2 bad races. Championship started to fall off, and then this one's going to give us a big lead back after we did a good bit better than our competitors in this one, so really happy with this one.
Enjoy and get some rest, and we'll see you in Indy.
Thank you.
I think you could also say, Ryan Marine, that the coolness shown by Luca Mars when he did find himself off the circuit at one of the fastest parts of the circuit, where he was on the grass for a very, very long time, actually contributed to them being able to get back into race contention. In the meantime, the car that's finished 5th, the Gregory Leofoods-driven Stephen Cameron Racing Ford Mustang, has ground to a halt. We've already got the safety teams there. So let's take a quick gander at the results. Unofficial at this stage, of course, subject to post-race technical inspection. Porsche, Ford, BMW, Ford, Aston Martin, BMW, Aston and McLaren in your top 10. RS1 extend their championship lead. They've pulled it back from the brink. They're the two core motorsports cars in 2nd and 3rd from Turner and Stephen Cameron Racing and Matt Plum for the top 6. Going further down through the fields, plenty of people who tried alternative strategies, but down in the late teens, it was RVA Graphics who won. TCR from Brian Herder Autosport, and Go Racing once again on the podium there. Eddie Go taking over from Eduardo, and they get back on the podium. Problems for people down at the bottom end of the field. We'll do a quick bit of arithmetic and try and work out what that does, particularly to the TCR standings. But I think, just looking at that, Denny DuPont lost another position there, but I think that's still enough to put them in the lead of the race. I'll let Ryan Marine do a bit of arithmetic on that. Let's take our final BTO pit lane report from Arjuna, who has another happy driver.
Luke Rumburg coming off the 2nd at Road America, grabs the victory with Jaden Conright. You're getting married in a month, but this must be pretty special as well.
Yeah, it's definitely not as special as getting married, but racing the end all-timers out here, it's been great. Tire Deg was a big part of today's race, and being able to save the tires like we did. Jaden did an awesome job finishing stint, and we can't just be more happy with this podium.
It seems like a pretty good pairing, you and Jaden, right?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best ones I've ever had, so especially after a win like this, it's awesome.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
So, Ryan Marine summed that one up again, a little untidy at times, but when we did get the racing, it was good racing. And the championship now beginning, certainly in GS, to take a little bit more of a shape that the guys at RS1 will be enjoying, at least.
I think so. I mean, we got to give thanks to them because the last couple of race weekends allowed us to have a conversation about the GS Championship. It looked like it was all settled after the way the season started, but two poor results, especially most recently at Road America, opened the door for a couple of contenders to come. But I'll tell you what, everybody who thought they had a chance to chase down this duo had a rude awakening here today. Misfortune, some of them making, some not so much. And then these two fought through some misfortune to get this win, bounce back in a huge way, and take firm control of the championship with just a couple of races to go.
In TCR then, is my schoolboy arithmetic right? Has the Denny DuPont team, the number 76 team, have they done enough then, with Harry Gottsacker finishing down in 11th, to sneak the championship lead away from them?
Yeah, I think so, but there is still one incident that's under review, and that actually is pretty important here because it's the Go car, number 55, and the 93, that's Carl Whitmer, who swapped positions on the final lap. That's how Go got to the podium. So depending on how that sorts out, it could actually be potentially the 93 that could grab the points lead if they get credited for third. As it stands, they wouldn't be. But I can say that that the DuPont Preston Brown car did score 40 more points than Harry Godsacker today, and that would be they were trailing by 20 coming in, so that would be enough for them to swap positions.
Inconclusive. Has been reviewed, so Go Racing hold on to third position. What it does mean, though, is it tightens everything up in TCR, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a three-way battle now, no question about it. And no matter what the math looks like, once we go through all of this here and the different permutations now that the penalty or non-penalty has been determined, the fact is there are 3 cars that are right there with the chance for the championship with 2 races to go, which is going to be a ton of fun looking at races at Indianapolis and then to wrap things up at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Really excited about the way that TCR battle could go down to the wire, and I expect it will, given the ups and downs of the season to this point.
Well, brilliant stuff, and my thanks to our BDO pit lane reporter, Arjuna Kankapati, working out in the heat and the humidity. Joining me here in the Full Performance Global Broadcast Centre, Ryan Marine. As always, our technical crew, trackside, particularly our hard-working camera operators out in the heat and the humidity, as well as everyone up at Concord for NASCAR Productions, and Tim Gray, our executive producer for RSL over in London. My name's John Hindhaugh. Don't go too far away. We are nowhere near finished the action yet. We've got plenty more to come this Super Saturday from here at Virginia International Raceway.